Hello and welcome to the United Community Channel. My name is Jack. This is your latest Manchester United news. And as always, we've got plenty to talk about. Obviously, we're going to be talking about Manchester United's potential deal with... Let me turn on these lights, actually. Manchester United's potential deal with UEFA, guaranteeing them that they will be allowed to play in Europe next season if both clubs qualify for the same competition. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit as well about some breaking news in the past hour or so around Gary O'Neill, the Wolves manager, potentially coming to Manchester United in a coaching role. So we'll talk a little bit more about that and get into it in depth as well. I want to talk a little bit about the striker front as well. Ben Jacobs has been speaking about potential striker targets for Manchester United in the summer. We'll delve into that as well. We're going to talk a little bit about Dan Ashworth and where are we when it comes to the appointment of a director of football, and what does that mean for Erik ten Hag. Finally then, I do want to talk a little bit about Terrell Malacia. We've got an update on him and Marcus Rashford as well, and a potential injury. I do apologise. My back is absolutely killing me. So if there's any sudden kind of throughout the live, you know what it's all about. But let's jump straight into it, guys. I want to start with the Gary O'Neill story tonight because it's been breaking the last maybe hour or so. Who have we got in the chat there? Reese is in, Ben is there, Neverworld is in as well. Good to see you guys. Smash a like on the video if you haven't. But according to Mark Ogden in ESPN, Manchester United want to speak to Wolves manager Gary O'Neill about a role in a potential new coaching setup at Old Trafford. O'Neill has been made aware of United's interest, with senior figures from the club expressing a desire to discuss his intentions. Very vague, it has to be said, this report. And one that I'm unsure about what we can really expect from Gary O'Neill potentially coming to Manchester United and what it means for Erik ten Hag. Does it mean he's coming in as a head coach? Does it mean he's coming in as a coach underneath Erik ten Hag? It is very vague at the moment, but it does speak in spades about what potentially Jim Ratcliffe is trying to do at Manchester United going forward and how he's trying to revitalise the football club. Sources have said that the new regime, led by Ineos Director of Sport Sir Dave Brailsford, are attempting to build a new coaching structure led by a head coach. So does that mean that Erik ten Hag is going to be the coach? I mean, the one issue that we've got here is that Erik ten Hag is the manager at the moment, and he came to Manchester United under the pretense of being Manchester United manager, more so than Manchester United head coach. We know that Erik ten Hag likes to have a lot of control over what he does and the players that he signs and so on and so forth. And that is probably going to be taken away from him, not completely, but subsequently, you know what I mean, or quite heavily, you would say, if all of these reports are to be believed. We know, obviously, we've got Sir Dave Brailsford. He's certainly got a massive say in what's going on. Omar Barad as the new CEO, and Dan Ashworth, who we'll speak about in a few moments, coming in as a director of football. These guys are going to be looking at who they want to sign. Now, we do know that Erik ten Hag is being... his opinion is being sought after for any future negotiations at Manchester United and potential planning when we're talking about the pre-season tour, the transfer activity that's going to go on in the summer. But when we're looking at this new coaching structure led by a head coach, first of all, what I think of, if you're talking about the likes of Gary O'Neill, who's already a manager within the Premier League, is he really going to leave, or anybody else for that matter, who has already got a job within the Premier League, you would say, or any maybe top league in Europe, are they going to leave a club where they are the head coach or the main man to come under a new coaching structure at Manchester United where you're part of a coaching team? I don't know. Again, this is very far-fetched if you were to ask me, I have to say. Now, are Manchester United looking at Gary O'Neill as a potential replacement for Erik ten Hag if they sack him in the summer? I don't know. I think he would be a candidate that I don't think he would be up to the task. Let me just put it that way. That's putting it bluntly. But look, he's doing a fantastic job at Wolves at the moment, and the step up from Wolves to Manchester United is incomprehensible, you would have to say. The pressure that it brings, and dealing with big players, big wages, ego, so on and so forth. I'm still under the impression. Oh, there's the first one now. Under the belief that Manchester United need a manager that can coach, rather than a head coach that's not able to manage. We've seen Eric Ten Hag already in his 18 months, nearly 2 years at the helm of Manchester United, dealing with some big issues and some big name players. Ronaldo, of course, being the main one. Jadon Sancho, he's dealt with the Harry Maguire situation. He's dealt with the Mason Greenwood situation as well. So these are all issues that he has to deal with. And we know that he's a good coach. He likes to get on the training ground. He likes to have his boots on, put the cones out. That's what it's all about. And I think having a head coach that can manage is much better. Sorry, having a manager that is also a head coach is much better than having a head coach that, basically can't manage the team and manage, the pressures that come with managing Manchester United is what I'm trying to say. But let's see what people are saying here. Thank Jesus you said coaching there. Just about filled my drawers. Neverworld, he also says, yeah, the update will most likely be that he's not figured out the game of hide and seek is finished yet. That's in relation to Malacia. We'll get into him in a moment as well. And Chris is in as well. Good to see you, Chris. So yeah, look, again, ESPN and Manchester United don't kind of fall into the same sentence. There's a complete anti-Manchester United agenda within ESPN. We've seen it with I'm not even going to mention them frauds that do be on ESPN in America talking about Manchester United. That Scottish fool. So, again, look, Mark Ogden coming out from ESPN, not the most reliable of sources. However, if we are to look deeper in it, it does sound like something Ineos will be trying to do. I mean, if they're looking to put a complete overhaul and layers to the structure behind the scenes at Manchester United with, directors of football and potentially, sub-directors of football that might answer to Dan Ashworth and Omar Barada and subsequently Dave Brailsford, it's completely layered. Now, this does have the same kind of feel to it. If you have, let's say Eric Ten Hag is the manager, you've got Gary O'Neill as your head coach, and then you've got 3 or 4 coaches under him, whatever it may be. I don't know. Now, look, sometimes you can just say too many cooks spoil the broth. And, obviously you're always going to have one man in charge, Eric Ten Hag, and he knows how he wants to play and how he wants Manchester United to play and the players that he wants to get to fit in to that whole way of playing. So, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one. And it's one that, I'm not 100% sure is ever going to come to fruition. Chris says, we need to build a staff to take control of all aspects, like set plays. We are awful. And Neverworld says, we all knew it was bad, but how many people we are having to bring in. It's clear to see just how bad it's been without all us knowing. Yeah, look, again, I wouldn't get too negative on this. I wouldn't get too, pessimistic about it. These are all, negative reports about Manchester United, generate headlines and generate clicks and sales and so on and so forth. So I wouldn't be getting too carried away with it. Eric Ten Hag has got, a coaching structure at the moment that I'm quite pleased with. Now, he's after losing 1 or 2 of his coaching staff. The guy that we lost to the MLS there last month as well. So, look, I'm all in when it comes to Ineos and Jim Ratcliffe and Dave Brailsford and what they want to do with Manchester United. If it works, brilliant. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. And we can look at, maybe, well, why didn't it work? And, maybe, some criticism might have to come. But we've been sprinting down a dark alley for the last 10 years, more than 10 years. And, these changes are changes that I embrace, to be quite honest with you. And I think every other Manchester United fan should, because, for far too long now, we've been, tiptoeing into, absolute nothingness. So, yeah, look, let's see what happens. I do apologise. My back is absolutely killing me, and I'm after taking a tramadol, which is the painkiller my wife got when she had her her section. So yeah, it's sore at the moment. I won't lie. I need to get my back checked out. Want to move it on, guys, and talk a little bit about the striker situation at Manchester United. Obviously, we do know that United are going to be in the transfer market in the summer, and we're going to be going all out for another striker. Now, we spoke over the last few days potentially about what kind of striker we want to get. Do you want to get an experienced, established striker, the likes of maybe Ivan Toney, who's in here now? Oh, he nearly scored for England. Sorry, I'm watching it on the TV here. Are you going to want to go out and get a striker like Ivan Toney, who's going to come in and want to play every single game of the season? And is that going to hamper the likes of Rasmus Højlund's development? Or are you looking to go out and get maybe another young, hungry striker that's going to maybe share the burden? Now, Ben Jacobs has been speaking today in relation to this topic, and he said RB Leipzig's Benjamin Sesko and Brighton's Evan Ferguson are two potential striker options for Manchester United this summer. Bologna's Joshua Zirkzee is on United's radar as well. Sesko and Zirkzee are available for under 50 million, and Ferguson is likely to cost at least 80 million. Well, I would say straight away, as much as I would love to see Evan Ferguson at Manchester United, 80 million for a player that has had one good season so far. Now, he is young, and there is, an awful lot of potential there. However, 80 million for just potential alone, we cannot take that chance. We already done it with Rasmus Højlund. We can't do it. Now, if you look at a Benjamin Sesko or a Zirkzee, who you can get for less than 50 million. Benjamin Sesko, I think, has a release clause of about, I think, is a 42 or 43 million pounds with RB Leipzig. Much more within range if you're looking at what Manchester United need to do over the coming transfer windows and the types of players we need to bring in and the types of transfer fees we need to be spending this money on. It's going to be quantity, it's going to be probably, I won't say more important than quality, but it's going to be right there with it, and I've done that before, where we've talked about you need to get the balance between quality and quantity right, but we need quantity. We need a lot of players, and the more you can get done in one transfer window, the better. So, obviously Evan Ferguson, is established within the Premier League, albeit he is, in and out of that Brighton team at the moment due to, I think he's gone 21 games without a goal at the moment, which is not ideal if you're going to be spending 80 million on a player that's 18 or 19 years of age. Sesko and Zirkzee, on the other hand, less than 50 million. I think it's absolutely less of a gamble. It really is. Now, there is obviously pros and cons to both. Like we mentioned, Ferguson has already played in the Premier League. Sesko and Zirkzee haven't, but they are cheaper, and they are the cheaper options. So, United have a dilemma this summer, and it's one that they do need to get right. I mentioned it this morning on the morning news show that I think it should be another young striker, similar to Rasmus Højlund, and let the two of them share the workload over a season where they could both play maybe 25 games each. And I think that would be the ideal scenario. It would take a lot of the pressure off, and I think it would allow them both to develop in a reasonable time frame. So, yeah, I mean, that's what I would be thinking. But again, let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Neverworth says 80 million for what? Exactly. Chris says, have always liked Sesko, better version of Evan Ferguson. Yeah, look, I mean, I would like nothing more than an Irish guy to be, starting up front for Manchester United. It would be absolutely fantastic. He's a United fan as well, which always, sweetens the deal. But my loyalties are to Manchester United, not Evan Ferguson. So let's see what happens. Shay is in as well. Neverworld says, go and get Dembele in and bring in Sesko as well. Ben says, yes, Sesko makes the most sense. Neverworld says, I've heard you say as much, Chris. True story that. Fofana at CDM, says Chris. 30 mil from Monaco. Yeah, there we go. I'm a little bit hazy at the moment after taking them painkillers, but yeah, we're enjoying ourselves. Aren't we? Moving it on, guys. I want to talk a little bit about the director of football situation at Manchester United. And obviously, it's a really, really, really important topic, an important appointment for Manchester United. We know it's going to be Dan Ashworth. It's going to be Dan Ashworth. He's on gardening leave at the moment with Newcastle, and United are in negotiations at the moment over a fee to bring down that gardening leave. Now, a couple of different things to pick out of this. Now, I'll put it up on screen. Let me just get it here. Sam Pilger, who writes for The Athletic and The Times, was speaking on MUFC MPB today. He says, I think he will be there for the summer, though there are no guarantees. Newcastle have started looking for new sporting directors. They want to move on. They don't want him on the payroll. Still, that's a very good chance he'll be at United this summer. Now, a couple of different things to pick out here. First and foremost, it's from a player standpoint and future planning, because this is a very, 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 very important transfer window coming up for Manchester United. And we need Dan Ashworth in with his feet under the table as quickly as possible. To be speaking with the likes of Omar Barada, Dave Brailsford, Eric Ten Hag over potential signings. Is he doing that at the moment? The fact that he's on gardening leave? I don't know. I don't know how this works. Is there legal ramifications that you cannot make contact with your potential new employer while you're still currently on the books with your previous one? I'm not 100% sure. But if it is the case that he is and he can, it does ease the burden a little bit. It eases the worry. Because, like we've mentioned, previously, there's going to be an awful lot of players that United are potentially going to have to get rid of sooner rather than later. And that means we got to replace them players. So, we've been talking about potentially bringing in 2 centre-backs. We've been talking about a left-back. We've been talking about a right-back. We're now talking about a CDM. We're talking about a number 8 as well if Eriksen goes. We're talking about bringing in another striker. And we're talking about a right winger. I mean, you're talking about 6-7 players there straight away. So, it's a massive, massive summer. So the quicker this guy can get in and get his feet under the desk, the better. I'm sure he does have his homework done, and he's currently, doing it at the moment, and he's probably identified players that he think might fit Manchester United, might fit the style of play, that the club want to play going forward. I'm sure he's had that conversation with Ineos, with Dave Brailsford. I would be shocked if he has already met Eric Ten Hag, because he's not officially, a Manchester United employee at the moment. But it doesn't mean work can't be happening in the background, and I think, it's just such an important summer. It's such an important summer for United, and one that we have to get right. We really, really do have to get it right. And if we don't, I'm not saying it's going to set us back. Of course, it's going to slow down the turnaround that we all want Manchester United, to do, and be back challenging for Premier League titles and Champions League trophies and so on and so forth. We need to get this transfer window right. We really do. Now, there is a second and probably just as important issue when it comes to Dan Ashworth not being appointed by Manchester United before the summer transfer window, and that's in relation to Eric Ten Hag. Obviously, we know that Eric Ten Hag has a lot of work to do to guarantee he's going to be the manager next season. And in the same interview, Sam Pilger says Eric Ten Hag's future at Manchester United will depend on results between now and the end of the season, along with long-term planning. The poor list of manager options currently available may also be a factor in the decision. Now, I think one of the biggest factors in this decision is how quickly Dan Ashworth is going to come in as director of football, because we've heard reports suggest that it's going to be Dan Ashworth and maybe Omar Barada that determine the future of Eric Ten Hag and who the manager is going to be. We spoke this morning on the news show that Jim Ratcliffe is taking a complete hands-off approach when it comes to footballing decisions. Now, obviously, everything will be run through him, but he's not going to be making, the decisions and potentially hiring and firing managers. That's going to be down to Omar Barada and Dan Ashworth. And it's refreshing to hear, because for a long time we've been asking for best in class people, competent people in competent areas of the football club. And it looks like Jim Ratcliffe is going to be doing that. He's not a football expert by any stretch of the imagination. He's not a cycling expert, but he's done extremely well in the sport. So the fact that he's taking a hands-off approach is very good. Now, if Dan Ashworth is not in before the start of the summer, does that mean Eric Ten Hag has a better chance of keeping his job? Because the decision ultimately is going to come down to Dan Ashworth. That remains to be seen. I hope that is the case, because you all know that I want Eric Ten Hag to be manager of Manchester United next year. I think he will be. I think another couple of good results. If we could get a win, if we could get 2 wins against Chelsea and Liverpool in the next 10 days, I think Eric Ten Hag's job is pretty much bang on sewn up until next season. Now, look, we've heard and we've mentioned this numerous times. He's getting heavily involved in the planning of the pre-season in terms of maybe potential transfer options. So that all remains to be seen. But yeah, I mean, I think if I was Eric Ten Hag, I would be happy that Dan Ashworth hasn't been appointed yet as a director of football, because Dan Ashworth may come in and go, no, I don't fancy it. It's time to move you on and get a manager in that we want and that, will fit the way we want to play football. And that's the concern, for people who want Eric Ten Hag to remain as manager, which I am, So, yeah, Dan Ashworth, in one sense, I want him to get in as quickly as possible, because we need to plan for the summer transfer window, and we need to, get his feet under the desk and get him identifying and scouting players and recommending players for us. But secondly, in relation to the managerial post, if he doesn't come in if he comes in after the end of the season, I think it's a big chance that Eric Ten Hag keeps his job if Dan Ashworth is going to be the guy to make that decision. Let's see. Can see that painkiller slowly sweeping you to Googoo'ville, fella. Yeah, it's starting to kick in quite heavily now, in fairness. Yeah, and we're getting a bit... it's not going to be a long show tonight. I'd say another, 10 minutes max, and I'll be done. And I'm just going to go and get vertical on the couch and rest my back. But yeah, Chris says we need to get him ASAP. Hire a gardener for him and get him to work pronto. No contact is allowed. Oh, says Chris. Serious fines will be set if there is communication while on gardening leave. Okay, there we go. Chris answers that question for us. Good to know. I may have to make a move to the UK to get shit done. And Neverworld says he's got a list already drawn. Let's be honest, not the sort of fella to rest on his laurels. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, whether he's actually officially working for Manchester United or not, he's already identifying players. There's no doubt about that. And the sooner we get him in, the sooner we'll probably get wind of the types of players that he is going to be looking at. Now, I want to talk about the title of the video, guys, is in relation to Manchester United and UEFA making a deal that United will be able to play in Europe next season if we qualify for Europe, and regardless of what tournament it is. Lots of reports coming out about it today. UEFA and Manchester United have reportedly been given, Manchester United have reportedly been given assurances by UEFA that they will be able to participate in Europe next season, even if Nice qualify, despite concerns brought about by the football governing body's restrictions on multi-club ownership. Last month, United confirmed via a public statement that Jim Ratcliffe completed his 27.7%. Since then, Ratcliffe and Ineos organisation have been conducting a thorough audit of United as they aim to identify possible areas of improvement. Amidst all this, there has always been a giant elephant in the room that needed to be addressed, the conflict brought about by Ratcliffe's ownership of Nice. The Ineos billionaire is the majority shareholder who are also chasing European football ahead of next season. Let's see, let's go down here. Under UEFA rules and guidelines, the same owner or entity are not permitted decisive are not permitted decisive influence in decision making across 2 or more clubs. Under the existing regulation, if United and Nice both finish in the Europa League places in the Premier League and League On respectively, the outfit that came higher between the two would be granted admission into the European competition, while the other would be barred from participating. Radcliffe previously addressed this issue and indicated that Ineos held talks with UEFA. He informed fans that there would be no problem with United, would certainly not be prevented from playing in Europe. However, a report from the People's Person relayed that UEFA have moved to enforce their rules on multi-club ownership, and there is a genuine chance the Red Devils could be barred. Anyway, long story short. Short story, long even. I don't see this as being an issue. I really don't. I don't think this is going to be a concern. Kobbie Mainoo nearly scored on his debut for England. It's a great save. I think this multi-club ownership issue is one that I don't think UEFA are enforcing, an awful lot. And there's a number of reasons why I think this. First and foremost, Jim Radcliffe has owned Nice for a number of years now, and he is the majority stakeholder there. There is not a chance in hell that he would come in and take 27.7% of Manchester United worth, 1.5 billion, whatever it was, if Manchester United would lose out on a European place. It just wouldn't happen. I'm sorry. There's no way he would have done it. Now, there has been reports and certain outlets have suggested that because he's not majority shareholder of Manchester United, that's where, this little loophole comes into play. And that it's the fact that it's the Glazers that own Manchester United, the majority shareholders of it. So that's one point. Now, the second issue I would have here is that I think UEFA would be shooting themselves in the foot, especially when it comes to the big clubs, the likes of Manchester United. We know that Girona and Manchester City have a similar issue if, both of them qualified for European competitions. I think UEFA would be shooting themselves in the foot, missing out on massive revenue without having these clubs in the competition. If you could have Manchester United in the Champions League or the Europa League or Man City or Real Madrid, whoever it may be, but you decide not to because of this multi-club ownership rule that you've got, I think you're shooting yourself in the foot. And I don't think UEFA are stupid enough to do that, to be quite honest with you. I don't think it would be. I don't think it's going to be a concern. I really, really don't. Again, look, we have to look at where Manchester United are at the moment in the league table. We're talking about potentially getting into the Champions League spots if possible. It's going to be a tough ask. We're looking. It's looking a lot more likely that we're going to end up in the Europa League next year. So we need to just worry about that first and foremost. Win as many games between now and the end of the season, and let's see where we end up. Obviously, a lot of things have to happen for this to be an issue. Nice as well, on the other hand, they need to finish in a certain position as well in their league, and that maybe counteracts maybe what we do. If we finish in 5th and they finish in 6th, we'll get priority, so on and so forth. I don't see it as being a big issue, I have to say. I really, really don't. Let's see what people think here. Vertical on the couch. Never heard a dude standing on the couch. Why? What way do you sit? Do you sit vertical? Because if you sit vertical, that's weird, Neverworld. Because, or horizontal, whatever. I'm fucking off my head on drugs here. Prescription drugs, by the way. They've done that, so City can play next year with Girona qualifying. Says Neverworld. Reese says, smart thing he could do is sell his shares in France and use the money to buy more of United in the future. I think that might be the case. I think that's exactly what he might do. One of our players has just had a great chance for a bicycle kick, says Reese. In the Ireland game, I actually haven't got the Ireland game on. I forgot they were even playing. What's the score, Reese? Let us know there. Pipe dream to make the Champions League, says Chris. Horizontal on the couch. Yeah, I'm going to be that way on the couch. Horizontal. Little update, guys, before I finish up, because I'm absolutely in agony sitting on this chair here. Terrell Malacia, and we reported yesterday that not only physical but potentially mental issues are not stopping him but delaying his return. Now, reports are coming out today from the Mail suggesting that Terrell Malacia's difficult recovery from a double knee surgery means he is unlikely to make his comeback before the end of the season. However, reports in Germany over the weekend are claiming that Malacia's problems, to be as much as mental as physical, are somewhat wide of the mark. While Malacia has had to overcome the psychological challenges typically involved in any long-term rehab, the injury itself and several setbacks in his recovery are the reason he has not played at all this season. Malacia has had problems with a damaged cartilage meniscus in his knee. He has spent some time at home in the Netherlands after surgery, but he has been working on his recovery at Carrington and is focused on getting fit for the start of the season. All we can do is wish him the best more than anything. I hope he comes back as quickly as possible. Pre-season next year. Let's get him back for that. I go back to what I've said about that left-back area. I still think it's an area we need to go out and look at potentially buying a player in the summer. Luke Shaw is now, you would say, injury-prone. I don't think Terrell Malacia is injury-prone. It's been one injury, and he's had a number of setbacks with the same injury. Luke Shaw has been starting to pick up a few injuries. Maybe it is a little bit too early to say he's injury prone, but I do want to see a left back coming in and going toe to toe with Luke Shaw and challenging him for that left back position, because like we said before, and especially when it comes to Luke Shaw plays very well when he's got some good competition in the squad that is potentially going to take his place. We've seen it when Tellez first arrived, and then we seen it obviously last season as well when Malacia came and started his career very well. So I think Luke Shaw needs competition at that left back spot. I really, really do. If he sells Nice shares, I doubt it will happen before next season. No, I don't think so. I think you're definitely right on that one, Chris. Neverworld says, I see us finishing fourth, honestly, so we will see firsthand what comes of this UEFA. Pish, I think I'm the only one watching Max Sauce. There we go. Lads, I'll leave it there because I am absolutely spent. My back is in absolute ribbons here. But thanks for watching. I do appreciate it. Smash the like button on the way out if you haven't already done so. If you haven't hit the subscribe button already, please do as well. We're on the road to 10,000 subscribers. Like I said, it's absolutely fantastic. The subscriber count has exploded in the last week. And a lot of it is down to the Liverpool match day vlog. I was about 2,500 subscribers away from 10,000 this time last week, and now I am about 250 away. So it's been crazy. It really, really has. So if you're new to the channel, do hit the subscribe button. I appreciate all the support, all the comments as well. It doesn't go unnoticed. Check out some new designs as well, guys. We've got our merch store. Link is in the description. We've got Casemiro, we've got Rashford, we've got two new ones, one for Kobbie Mainoo and one for the youth trinity of Mainoo, Garnacho and Highland. We've got some nice designs there: mugs, t-shirts, hoodies, phone cases, all that kind of stuff. Link is in the description. Go check out some of that as well. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll be back in the morning with the morning news as always. Have a great evening, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take it easy.